I'm here with Bob Reid, the co-founder and CEO of Everest. Now, Everest, according to the Everest website, is the world's only device-free, globally accessible digital transaction protocol with a built-in identity. Bob, before we get into what Everest is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So let's see. Born, raised Silicon Valley, did a host of startups. Most recent one that was of note before Everest was probably BitTorrent. I was the GM of licensing there, and actually my co-founder was head of product for a while. So with a peer-to-peer background, you can imagine a lot of us from there went on to go out and do lots of stuff in blockchain and crypto.
All right, thank you for that. So what points out to me is Everest, you guys offer a end-to-end financial inclusion solution. Can you tell us more about Everest and what that end-to-end financial solution means?
Sure. So we built a platform that basically looks like an e-government or an e-bank platform. It has the four major components of biometric digital identity that is attached to an account. That account can do fiat or crypto and can hold documents like your house title deed or your credentials of like my KYC status, right? Or your medical records even, right? We then have a ledger that's really fast and cost effective. And then we have a licensed programmable stablecoin. I believe we're the first in the world to actually be licensed to do this. That is, we can take a euro, a dollar, a peso, a dinar in, program that to be redeemable. Like in Indonesia, we did program it to only be worth a gas tank, or program it to be worth crypto and go put it into a DeFi, if you will, savings account. So the entire stack, it basically goes, here's your end-to-end identity plus financial inclusion platform. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I get it. So what you're trying to say is you guys offer the full package, right? So there's no need for any third-party integrations, and then all your identity and financial activities can just be done all in one platform, right?
Correct. Yeah. So if you're, a lot of the ecosystem right now does like, I'm going to do fiat onboarding with one of those vendors. And then I'm going to do a ledger and it's going to do some protocols. And then I'm going to have another, if you will, and everyone's sort of been doing, they put all 4 or 5 elements together. So to your point, we did a vertical integration. And so now all we're really doing is any third parties we connect to is really just the banking system, right? To go get fiat in and out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. So so you guys have a bunch of products, because when I go through the website, I saw so many things. So first thing I want to ask is, what is the Everest ecosystem?
Very good question. So what I just described is, like we said, a vertically integrated financial inclusion platform, right? It is. But it also has just a flat out ledger that others can program onto. So like Ethereum, you can say, and by the way, we are EVM compatible. That means as we open up the APIs, people can go like, I want to do supply chain, right? Nothing to do with really financial inclusion in a way. They could do healthcare, insurance, all of these different applications where they can, if you will, other developers take advantage of our platform and go, verify the identity. Are you who you say you are? All right, now I want to transact value with you and I want to do it cost effectively, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be, we're broadening the ecosystem to be more than just what I would call money.
All right, so I think Everest, from what I've gotten from you, is more focused on identity, right? So, and there's this thing about identity token. So can you tell us a little bit of that?
Sure. So the ID token is a way for a user, when they create an identity that is attached to a wallet. So what that means is, like, think of like your face, like your live face. We're kind of like private keys to open up that account. right? And so each user has 0.001 or varying levels of tokens to get different levels of access. But the bare minimum is like, here's an account with my identity attached to it. And with that, then you get access to more services.
All right. So, but these identity tokens, right? Are they tradable?
I believe they can be tradable. It's an ERC20 token.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But the question is, you just said it now that the token, helps to verify your identity, and then you use the token as more or less like, what's the word? Like an ID, right? So what's the incentive for me to trade my ID, if you understand where I'm coming from with this question?
The more IDs you have,
okay,
the more access you get,
okay,
and more functionality. So, for example, we have financial institutions that come to us. They're not just individuals. They're like, hey, I want to just get an account. They'll come up and say like, I want access. I want to onboard 100,000 users. I want to do a KYC check. I would then want to do like all these different services. Then you go like, oh, okay, well, they need more than just one ID token.
Okay.
So I can speak to the functionality of it. The other one would be like, hey, I want to join the remittance club, right? Remittance club is like, I'm going to get reduced fees on sending money overseas.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about the tokenomics. I know you guys have about 800 million coins in circulation as this total supply. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So we have 183 million set aside for staking and rewards. And so you're going to see more from that from us very quickly, because what we're doing is we're opening the network to be very much more decentralized than it is today. Right. And so as that becomes more decentralized, think of, again, like Ethereum or Polygon. Therefore, you've got a big pool of tokens where validators will be, if you will, staking. And again, that makes the network a little bit more decentralized too. Okay.
My next question is, there was something called the Everest chain. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So Everchain is literally a piece of, well, it's currently an L2 chain that bridges to Ethereum mainnet. We've actually done a bridge to BSC too, but still going through QA on that piece. What it does is it runs a little bit like Polygon, right?
Okay.
Really fast, cheap transactions. Now, as I mentioned before, as we get more open, it'll basically look like an L1.
Oh, okay. But has it been, I mean, the platform is launched on the Ethereum blockchain, right? And has it been with the transaction fees on the Ethereum blockchain?
It's our chain. Everchain it's its own thing. Think of it like a side chain, right?
Okay, so like a side chain. Okay, so okay.
Yeah. So like our transaction costs are less than Polygons and faster.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So like it's closer to BSC in a way. And then what we do is just, like I said, we've done a bridge to Ethereum mainnet.
Okay.
Doing our second bridge right now.
Okay.
As we open up Everchain to be more decentralized, it will look like, I'll give you my sense of the world. All the L1s today are confined into their little
ecosystem. Yeah, like their own
ecosystems, etc. Now, when you have Everchain that runs at 5-second transactions for 0.0001, right?
Wow,
that's
transaction. Impressive.
Okay, and you then have bridges into everything. So it's a hub. The user, from a user point of view, they're going to be like, I don't care if it's BSC, Solana, Ethereum, Polygon, or whatever. They're literally just going to, it'll be, as I call it, it's dial tone. You know, it works, it's there, but you don't really go like, and so I think we're probably going to see a lot of the, oh, let me do the drop-down menu. Let me go over here to this network. And then the cost to bridge over there is that. And then I think all that probably gets if you will, put into the background here in the next
resolve
year.
it easily. So it's just one direct gateway.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, oh, did I do that on Cardano, BSC, or Ethereum? User won't care.
Yeah. So it's really any blockchain, really, it's irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, again, like what we're doing that's more interesting these days than everyone else is it's going to be the identity. So as regulations hit, right, you're going to have to go like, did that transaction for $10,000 equivalent of value, right? Even if it's in crypto, did it go over here and did it do that thing? And you have to do some compliance and you have to do it across the bridge too. So that's, if you will, and attaching the transaction to the bare minimum amount of identity information required.
Yeah.
Attaching both of those, going across a bridge, and then doing reporting. Like,
so it's easier to even trace transactions that way, as to who actually sent that money from your platform to the other bridge, or and vice versa.
Right. And so this is, I can tell you, like, this is how we split. Literally, there's Everest Network, which is the licensed financial entity that's required to track a transaction.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's, if you will, the non-regulated platform that isn't really us. It's just sort of the network. Well, you can run healthcare, insurance, supply chain, all. It's just like you were running on, Ethereum or Polygon or BSC.
Nice. So let's move a little bit away from that. Let's talk about the Everest wallet. So how is the Everest wallet different from, let's say, a MetaMask, for instance?
Really good question. Couple of ways. So Wallet is, if you will, one component to that entire stack, right? MetaMask is just MetaMask, right? It does its thing, but it doesn't have an entire network attached to it like we do, along with identity, etc. On a technical level, I'll show you what's really different is you don't require a device at all, in a way. Okay, so what that means is my biometrics and PIN work like a PIN, like my private keys. And so therefore I can go up to literally like scan my face, put in my PIN and get access to my account.
Okay.
Right. So that means I'll give you a sense, like when we did the energy subsidy delivery for the Indonesian government and BRI bank, we had people shirt on their back, walk up to BRI bank agents. Bank agent would go scan face, okay, put in PIN, and then the user got access to their account. So that means, by the way, all the features that come along with it. You don't lose your private keys. You don't lose, right? It's your live face. You can always recover. You don't have lost keys anymore.
Yeah.
Right. You also reach about 4 or 5 billion people who don't have smartphones.
Mm.
Right. So
that's pretty awesome. That's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So in terms of network security, because so many hacks out there, and it seems like every 2 weeks you hear of a new hack. I think the latest one was Cream Finance got hacked. And what is Everest basically doing in terms of network security? And especially because of the fact that you guys are in the identity business, what is to say that you guys get hacked and then people lose their identity, or their identity is public? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Very good questions. So let's start with basic. Everest itself, where the platform was built and founded, is European, and we're GDPR compliant.
Okay.
That also means we've had audits done, but since we're a licensed entity, that means the governments have come in and said, hey, we're going to audit you and make sure that what you actually, the policies you say you actually implement. Okay.
Okay.
Next, we have literally the architecture of it itself. So that is, if we have 1 million users, that's not one database of a user. It's 1 million mini data stores distributed around the planet. And even like for my identity, I have my biometrics, my PIN, my proof of address, my proof of age, my proof of bank balance, all of these different things. Each one of those is literally encrypted, like think of it like an onion, each layer a little bit more encrypted, right? So if a hacker were to show up and look at our system compared to, I don't know, a bank, they'd go, wow, there's a million mini things here. I don't know if I'm getting the proof of address of that 16-year-old kid in Indonesia, or am I going to get Bob's something over here? And by the way, it's all encrypted and audited, etc. In addition to that, we've also had banks and governments do pen tests on us, right? So like, and if you'll layer onto that, and this is really probably even more important, Everest itself doesn't have the keys to open up a user's identity. Okay, that means like, think of it like a Genesis block to create something. Normally what we did is we separated the key holding of that, because identity is really not really about transaction speed, it's about who has access. So we basically said, hey, for the identity, are you who you say you are base identity? Everest doesn't have the keys to actually open up somebody's identity.
All right, so that's beautiful. So tell us more about your stablecoin. It's the CRDT stablecoin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we call it a credit.
Yeah. So tell us more about it. You mentioned something earlier that is the first licensed stablecoin.
I believe so. Yeah.
And tell us more about that. How did you guys get the license, and what led to that basically?
Sure. So out of a couple of hundred companies, even banks that started the process of getting a VFA license in Europe, in 2018, 10 of us were actually given licenses to go do virtual financial assets. Almost everybody did an exchange or some trading desk. That is the other 9. We were given a license for programmable money. That is, take euros or dollars in, and you can program that. By the way, as soon as you program that, it's no longer money, right? Money is central bank issued by a government, et cetera. So when you program it, you say like, I'm going to make this only good for my mom to pay her utility bill in Manila. Or I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to program it and put it into ETH, and then that ETH I'm going to go put into a DeFi protocol. We can do all of that. So I don't know of another organization that was licensed, like here's a programmable stablecoin that literally like it's a license to do it, like a crypto exchange in a way.
All right.
Also, it's programmable. I mean, like this is not something, by the way, it's not something you see traded on Coinbase or anything else. It's an internal currency to the entire ecosystem.
Oh, okay. Okay, so definitely I'm not going to see the stable coin on Binance or FTX or anything like that. So it's only used in the ecosystem.
Correct. And by the way, like we're seeing US, Europe, Singapore, Japan, they're all coming out and saying stable coins 1-to-1 backed. You have to back it 1-to-1. And by the way, you can't put it in commercial paper that has high risk. Right. So like, yeah, like we got lucky, and we also were pretty thoughtful about doing this a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're good with regulations coming out.
Nice. So you guys are more or less safe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like we've seen other companies show up and go like, we're going to do USDC, for example. Right? Oh, okay, well, that's traded everywhere. And they, by the way, 40 billion TVL, et cetera. But that's basically an unlicensed bank, which is why when you read the press releases now, they're going to go figure out how to become a US bank, because as soon as the regulation hits, whatever they're doing is illegal. Right? And we've seen other guys do like, I'm going to do it this way, and I'm not going to do any KYC, on the wallets. You're like, that doesn't scale. Doesn't scale to mass market. So we tried to build something that truly will last forever.
A large market. So funny enough, that brings me to my next question, right? Because now every transaction has an ID, and every transaction will have the identity of the person. Isn't that basically against every single principle cryptocurrencies were built for? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes and
especially
no.
Coming from the critic perspective,
Sure. So actually, every transaction that's done right now in the normal banking system has an identity and probably too much identity information attached to it. So conversely, we actually programmed in the laws. Hey, this is under $600 in this jurisdiction, which means you cannot look at what I'm doing.
Right.
Right? Oh, I'm going to do a transaction for over $10,000 and I'm going to send it over a border. Okay. Well, you have to report that. And so we'll have to, at least as Everest, as a licensed financial entity, go like, here's the bare minimum information you're allowed to get from me. So give you a sense, in a normal transaction, looking at my wallet here, you go like, okay, here's my identity doc, and that's what I have to give to, let's say, PayPal, if they want to send it overseas. They have my gender. They don't need that. They have my full birth date. Well, they actually don't need to know that. The only thing they need to know is, am I over 21, I think, right? Like, right? It just sort of goes on and on and on. You go like, no, I'm going to program in, here's the 6 fields of information you're allowed to get for that given transaction at this point in time. And so it turns into being, if you will, legally, I call it transparent with privacy.
Yeah, I think that's the major sell. And thinking about it is, this is actually scalable to any government. So far, the transactions are trackable, and anybody will be more comfortable with that. And I think so much pushback on cryptocurrency is because of this way where people can just have a wallet and not necessarily be able to track where transactions are going in and out from. And that's where central banks are worried about, the financial watchdogs are actually worried about. And I think this is actually a really, really good initiative, really.
Yeah, I would say, like, look, people that don't want to have massive transactions looked at that are going cross-border or doing something illegal, like, it's either, usually that conversation ends up where people just want to avoid taxes, or they simply want to go out and do anonymous transactions. Like, that doesn't scale.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Yeah. So my final question to you, I don't take up, your whole day. I know you're a big ID token fan, but I really need to know, what are your top 5 cryptocurrencies?
You know what I end up doing?
What?
I buy what my partners are. So you've seen a couple of our partnerships. I buy those.
I went through the page with Visa, everything. I saw everything. That you guys have so many partnerships.
So I usually buy some of whoever I partner with.
Oh, okay.
So that'll tell you exactly who I'm buying.
All right. So definitely, I know you're partnered with Polygon, so definitely you have Polygon there. Am I right?
Maybe. And yes. And by the way, FTX and Chainlink. And then there's another one that's actually getting announced here shortly. You'll see that one. You drop me a note and I'll show you a little bit. I bought a couple months ago on that one.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for answering all our questions. It's been really entertaining. I'm not going to lie about that. It's actually fun talking to you about this new way of doing blockchain transaction, because it really is.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.